This is your Chargers linebacker, Daiyan Henley, and you're tuning in with Chargers Unleashed.
Welcome to another edition of Chargers Unleashed. Jake Hefner and Dan Wolkenstein here with you from the LAFB Network. If this is your first time tuning in the show, make sure to hit that like and subscribe button on YouTube. You can also follow us on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, Spotify, and Apple Podcasts. Dan Wolkenstein. It wasn't the prettiest of victories, but it is a victory Monday here on Chargers Unleashed as the Chargers go on the road to defeat the Atlanta Falcons 17-13. And of course, Dan and I are going to get into our recap, our reactions, as well as sprinkle in some of the voicemails from the Chargers Unleashed Hotline, because much like it has been over the last few weeks, you guys have definitely felt a need to call in to express your opinions as it relates to the Chargers as of late. And we are going to get into all of your voicemails, obviously break all of this, break everything down as it relates to the game. Dan Wolkenstein, I know you're happy. Everybody should be happy. It's a victory Monday. The Chargers are currently sitting at 8-4. Not too much to be disappointed about. Yet
you wouldn't know it.
You wouldn't know it. Yet there is some criticism to be had. As I opened it up, it's not the prettiest of victories, but it is a victory. How are you feeling?
I'm feeling wonderful. I've been feeling wonderful. Some Chargers fans and some people that are covering this team that are to this screen to my right may have not always felt this good. I'm not sure who we're talking about here, but I digress. No matter what they say, by any means possible, and I don't care, this Chargers team is 8-4. You know that meme, like they are who they thought they were. We let them off the hook. This Chargers team is exactly who most of us thought they were. Jake, you had them as 11-6. I had them as 10-7 going into the season. And they are ahead of schedule or on schedule, depending on how you look at it. And sure, there are things that they can improve upon. We all knew that. This Chargers team is pretty much playoff bound. They're 95% sure going to be there. But if you listen to a lot of Chargers Twitter and all the rumblings from people talking about this game, it was as if they lost by 30. So we're going to get to the voicemails, and we're going to kind of let these voicemails dictate the theme of this conversation as we go through, because there's a lot of them. I think there are 10. So this is going to be fun, but Chargers fans, embrace this. This Chargers team, your Chargers are 8-4 with 5 games left. They could still get to 13. Will they? I don't know, but they could. That's insane. Jake, we'll have some optimistic, pessimistic discussions here because it's going to have to come through.
Yeah. For those that have been waiting for Darth Dan to just disappear, I would not have guessed that we would be getting the most optimistic Dan Wolkenstein after a game where Justin Herbert goes 16-23 for 147 yards and the Chargers failed to score an offensive touchdown. I would not expect that to be the game that brings out the most optimistic Dan Wolkenstein than we have seen in the 2024 season. But he's here today, and man, he's got a lot to say.
So before we get to that, Jake, let's pay the bill. Let's talk about our friends before we get to our first voicemail. And let this thing ride, because Chargers fans, you have a lot to be excited about. Jake, let's pay the bills.
I want to remind everybody that BetOnline is the world's most trusted betting platform and the number one source for everything football. BetOnline is every stat, every matchup, and even live odds and spreads to bet on during the games. You think you know your stuff? Get in on our $200,000 mega contest and pick 5 games against the spread every single week for your chance at weekly prizes and a share of up to $200K. When the game is over, head on over to our online casino and get on a game of blackjack or poker or on one of our 150 slot games. Head on over to the website today. That is betonline.ag. BetOnline, the game starts here.
Chargers Unleashed Hotline was blown up again as soon as this game started. And actually, there's a couple voicemails that happened prior to. So we're going to get to that to kind of get the stage set. Again, 323, you know the drill. 323-902-7586 is your number for the Chargers Unleashed Hotline. Please, 30 seconds or less. Let's try to keep it respectful. We can have some fun, but let's keep it respectful. But Jake, 17-13, Chargers win, 8-4. There are some predictions ahead of time and some vibes that we want to get out. Let's hear from our friend Athir prior to the game, talking about last week and the state the Chargers fan base was in.
This should be fun.
Dan, Jake, I love you, my boys. First of all, happy Thanksgiving to you and your family. Okay, I just saw the show. I heard my voicemail. I heard everybody. The first thing I wanted to say, my bro, is this. This is pathetic from Chargers fans. Really pathetic. And
Calling out Chargers fans. Athir on line 1. You fans listening, you ready?
And sad to hear some of the things that were said. We were 5-win teams last year. 5-win teams. And you expected this team to go to the Super Bowl this year or AFC Championship.
Is he talking to others or himself? Because I'm pretty
I'm
sure
trying to think. It
remember
sounds like he's having an argument with himself because Athir, if you have heard Athir call into the show or talk about just the Chargers in general, he has been the most bullish as it relates to the Chargers winning games. Let's not forget, just a couple of weeks ago, he thought that the Chargers were going to absolutely kick the crap out of the Baltimore Ravens 35-14. So he has been big on score deficiencies in terms of what the final score is going to end up being. Like he thinks the Chargers are going to roll. So I'm not sure who he's having an argument with here.
With what? I don't give a damn how good Justin Herbert is. You don't have a complete roster. We lost to a good team, not a great team. Okay? We lost to a good team. We
There's his feelings today.
cannot make mistakes the way we're supposed to when we play a good team because we don't have the team to overcome these mistakes. I'm the biggest cheerleader of Jim Harbaugh.
True.
Yes.
I love my coach. I love my quarterback. I die for my coach. I give my life for my coach. And I have
That's my quarterback. That's my quarterback.
the team winning the Super Bowl in San Francisco 2026.
2026 Super Bowl victory is his prediction.
My expectation has not changed this year. It's going to be only a playoff appearance and a playoff win. Anything after that, I'll take it as a blessing. Thank you. Love you.
Okay. So, setting the stage for this game. Remember, Chargers lost to the Ravens. Are they pretenders? All the feelings. Athir is here to help set the record straight on expectations and the bigger perspective for this season, which I give Athir credit. Although I do think, Athir, I love you, my baby, but you are speaking out of both sides of your mouth because you were talking like 13, 14 wins, but also this team is going to only have a playoff appearance, maybe a victory. So like pick one, but still, let's remember, Chargers fans, 5 wins a year ago. And how many things this team needed to do to overcome, to bring in, just to fill out a roster, let alone have a roster that can compete for victories. Fast forward, they are 8-4. But let's not forget what the expectations were, and let's not be prisoners of the moment, good and bad. Jake, Athir's asking folks to remember and pump the brakes a bit with criticism. I mean, the Chargers team is looking good going into this game.
Oh, was there a question behind that?
No?
No, okay. You're just making a statement. Yes. I mean, we led off the season, as you mentioned, both of our record predictions that we had for this team. Most of that was an inflection on the coaches because we knew when Jim Harbaugh came in here, then that was anything like what the Chargers have had in terms of coaching for the better part of nearly 2 decades. And as you also mentioned, the turnover in roster over one single year, whether it be through free agent additions or 5th-round rookies stepping up or off the bench free agents that you just signed days ago that are able to come in and make plays, it's truly amazing. And yes, sometimes you have games that go the way they did yesterday, where they're ugly and they're by no means flawless. And is there criticism to be warranted as it relates to certain aspects of this team? Sure. Is there trends that have been going on for the past several weeks that you would like to see corrected? Absolutely. I'm one of the biggest people as it relates to some of those things. I would like to see...
Cough, the second half offense.
Yes. Thank you, Dan. You are definitely not a man of subtlety. Thank you. I would like to see some of those aspects change as we get closer towards the end of the season.
We all would.
However, as Dan likes to remind me, there is still an aspect of luck in football. The Chargers are just not a team that happens to see it very often, and not saying that anything as it relates to is just luck that the Chargers won yesterday against the Falcons. That's not what I'm saying at all. But you see how fortunate that the Kansas City Chiefs are to have a one-loss record given what has happened to them and some of the wins that they have pulled out.
Sure.
Sometimes you have games like this where one side of the ball, whether it's offense or defense, doesn't show up and the other side has to pick the offense or the defense up. That happened yesterday. That happened in spades, specifically from a handful of players that kept the Chargers in the game and ultimately finished it. So not a pretty win, not flawless, not absent of criticism, but the Chargers currently sit at 8-4 with the roster that you have right now.
With all the flaws.
Which is better than what it was when you, quote unquote, had more talent on this roster in years past.
Yep. Look, and the reason I bring this voicemail up first for everybody to listen to is this Chargers game that we just saw, 17-13, ugly, quote unquote. From an offensive perspective, aside from Ladd McConkey and Justin at times, it was ugly. Play calling, situational, some of the decisions that they were doing, the fourth down punt stuff, like, whoa. I get it. There are things that need to be improved. The defensive pass rush, for the most part, non-existent. No idea what's going on with that. I get it. Nevertheless, they persisted. And nevertheless, through all of the things that have gone wrong and that they suck at, we acknowledge all of that. Through it all, through the injuries, through the bad luck, through all of it, they are 8-4. And so Chargers fans, I understand that there are things that this team can improve upon. And I understand that there are things that are frustrating fans when they look at some of the offensive woes, when they look at some of the play calling, some of the lack of adjustments, all the cliche things, right? I get it. But you have to temper that with the reality. And the reality is this Chargers team is 8-4, the 5 seed, the Ravens lost. We're hoping the Browns win. And they have a 95% chance to make the playoffs right now. They have 3 more wins they had all of last season with 5 games left. So you could be frustrated, but tether that to the reality of this being a playoff team in year 1 of Jim Harbaugh with this roster without the guys that we thought that they would have. They're not playing with DJ Chark. They're not playing with Hayden Hurst.
Ooh.
Bradley Bozeman has been, average, above average, I guess? Gus Edwards was on IR for 4 weeks. Now you have Asante Samuel Jr. on IR for months. You've got J.K. Dobbins now on IR. You've got Denzel Perryman out for weeks. Justin Herbert on a plantar fascia injury and a high ankle sprain for forever, seemed like. Offensive line trying to figure things out. New offense, new defense. You got rookie cornerbacks starting. You got rookie offensive linemen. You got rookies all over the place. And yet, through it all, this Chargers team is 8-4. Now, I have been Darth Dan a lot this year.
Oh, yeah.
And there are aspects of the game that is infuriating. But on the whole, Chargers fan, Athir is right in the fact that let's keep our perspective. This team, roster-wise, is not as good as the elite teams. If we're being honest, though, Jake, this is exactly where we thought this Chargers team would be, if not better, if we just snap back to reality. They're 8-4. Nevertheless, they're 8-4. So imagine how good they can be with another year with this coaching staff, with Joe Ortiz, with salary cap, with experience, with health. This is a process, Chargers fans. but enjoy it because they don't win these games normally. You know that. I know that. And we're not used to this. We're not used to seeing teams where if the offense struggles, the defense carries them. I get it. But this is a different team. The whole chargering thing, they've won twice as many as they've lost. So let's try and have faith a little bit. You can call out when things are struggling. I get it. But Chargers fans, you're the 5 seed. You're going up against Kansas City. This game is like easy money for me. I don't even care if they win this. I'm being completely honest. I do not care if they beat the Chiefs this week. That's because they win the games they're supposed to do. That's what good teams do. And they're a good team. I know I went on a rant for far too long on that. I apologize. I'm off my soapbox. Thoughts?
Let's go to the next voicemail, then.
Next voicemail. Prediction time. Going into the game.
What's up, guys? It's Oliver here from Montreal, Canada. My prediction for the game is Quentin Johnson is about to go freaking off. I don't know if you've seen the Instagram account, Quentin Johnson Worshipper, where they make fun of him. I don't think that's funny at all. I think Quentin is going for 100 yards. It's his revenge game against a very poor secondary. I think it's his game. Let's go, baby. Bolt up. Love.
It's like one of those, how it started, how's it's going type of situations. Look, we're all coming off of the bad game that Quentin had against the Baltimore Ravens. Outside of Ladd McConkey, I don't care what number was on your back, there really wasn't anything to show offensively for this game. And that's Justin Herbert alike.
Mm-hmm.
The 5 sacks that were allowed from an offense to a defense that was last in the league in terms of quarterback pressures and sacks. Coming into this game, they had 10 sacks in 11 games. They were 32nd in the league in sacks and quarterback pressures. And they ended up getting 5 throughout this game. It was bad. And nobody could really contribute outside of Ladd McConkey. When those halftime stats were read, Justin Herbert had 115 yards passing, and 105 of them were to Ladd McConkey. There really was not anything going on offensively for this game other than Ladd McConkey. Quentin Johnston, who has had a rough couple of weeks, still, when you look at the progression from year 1 to year 2, there's no question on which one I'm obviously selecting. I've been happy with the progress that Quentin Johnston has made. I've been happy with the message that's been sent from Jim Harbaugh and Justin Herbert in terms of how do you pick up a teammate or a player after a game like that. You don't bench him. That's not going to do anything for his confidence moving forward. You throw him the ball again, and you keep throwing him the ball until you get something that's going to spark some type of rhythm and confidence. Now, was the Atlanta game something for that? No. No, was not. But then again, it wasn't for a lot of players in this game. So can't just single out Quentin Johnston as to why the offense wasn't working. It wasn't working for a multitude of different reasons. So moving forward, especially as we get towards the end of the season and moving towards the playoffs, this messaging that Jim Harbaugh and Justin Herbert have sent to Quentin Johnston is still going to be the same type of messaging. I've been happy with his development under Coach Sanjay Lal in his second year. I think he has definitely made some improvements from his rookie season immensely. But yeah, he still has work to do. Obviously. He has to figure out, and I think that Jim Harbaugh and Greg Roman have tried to do this in some circumstance where we've seen it where there's just not been a lot of separation for Quentin Johnston, especially even in one-on-one situations. There's even been instances where they've tried to get him free into space. You saw it in the Baltimore game, and unfortunately, that's when the drops ended up happening. So I think they have a good idea for what they want to do for Quentin Johnston.
Just stop throwing the go balls to Quentin. Can we please?
Go away from it for a little while. Conjure up something else as it relates to the offense. And hell, maybe that is why 105 of the offensive yards were to Ladd McConkey. because there wasn't really anybody roaming too free and getting separation as far as wide receivers or tight ends goes. As the caller mentioned, there were a lot of weak aspects to the Atlanta Falcons secondary. You look back at the safeties that they have, though, Jesse Bates had a pretty damn good game. And despite statistically what you may think of him, Justin Simmons made a name for himself against the Chargers when he spent his time in Denver. So they were ready to play. They were coming off of a bye, and they took away a lot of different aspects for the Chargers offense.
This was a hungry Falcons team trying to hold on to first place, knowing what was going on in the division.
Now they're tied because they lost.
Yep.
So take from that what you will. Quentin Johnston, in my opinion, you don't just circle him as an aspect of why the offense had failed yesterday. There was a collective reasoning of why the offense sputtered, failed, and not able to progress. Now, as it relates to bigger picture aspect, you go to second half points scored, that's a much bigger problem in itself. And I think that that's where maybe most of the people are building this frustration from, which I get it. That's a trend that you don't want to see, and that's a trend that's been going on for a while now. That has nothing to do with just Quentin Johnston, but the offense overall. How you're able to not score an offensive touchdown, period, in this entire game was something in of itself. But this negative trend of not being able to put up second half points, your defense put up a valiant effort that kept you in the game and ultimately won the game for you yesterday. That's not going to be able to be an every week occurrence. At some point, this Chargers team is going to have to put it together offensively and be able to put up points in the second half and be able to put teams away when you're in tight games.
Chargers improved to 8-4. Instant reactions were flowing from the Chargers Unleashed Hotline. Jake, next one. Here we go.
Yo, Jake, Dan, this is Thomas Hawley from Lakeland, Florida. Let's go after that win. Tarheeb Still is that man. All right, boys, bolts up. Let's go.
Wow.
Take a bow.
Who are you going to say, Tarheeb Still or Joe Ortiz?
Either one.
Seriously.
Either one.
Cam Hart, who has missed the last 3 games, has also been a standout rookie in the 5th round. Tarheeb Still, you picked a hell of a game, sir, to step up and have your coming out party. I know that everybody goes to his first interception that he had and obviously the pick 6, which were huge turning points in the game. But you go back to that last drive that Atlanta had on the 3rd and 12 before Derwin James ended the game. Huge pass breakup from Tarheeb Still on that.
Drake London, right? Yeah.
Unbelievable game for Tarheeb Still to step up in. And remember, when Tarheeb Still was drafted, there was some versatility to his game, but everybody kind of figured that, this was going to be your long-term slot nickel corner because just strictly based on his size. Tarheeb Still has been doing this for years, going back to college, and his versatility being able to play inside and outside. And who are your 2 outside corners that started yesterday? It was Christian Fulton and it was Tarheeb Still. And man, oh man, you talk about stepping up in a crucial moment when your team needed it. Can't say enough great things about what Tarheeb Still did yesterday and just the short time that he has been in the league as a 5th-round rookie. Also have to applaud the coaching of Steve Klingscale, who has coached up Tarheeb Still and Cam Hart so well in such a short period of time.
Tarheeb Still is that dude. And you heard Derwin early in the offseason talk about the 2 standouts that stood out most to him were Cam Hart and Tarheeb Still. And you fast forward, and Tarheeb Still has looked like a seasoned vet. And I think I say this in the best way possible. You forget about how many injuries and the experience that is on this team right now because of how well these rookies are playing. And then you add in, Marcus Maye.
Yeah.
Elijah Molden. I mean, you've got guys playing right now that you would not, and I would understand if you did not have any expectations for. And they are providing game-winning plays. Take a bow, Steve Klingscale, Chris O'Leary, Jesse Minter, all the players. I mean, Tarheeb Still is fantastic. And Joe Ortiz, blank check, you're never leaving. Never leave. Never change. Look what he's brought into this. Like, what? You could go free agency. You could go with practice squad folks. Trades for Elijah Molden for a bag of chips. Brings in Marcus Maye off the street, and bam, gets an interception. Huge one, which, what the hell Kirk Cousins was thinking on that throw? No idea. Drafts 2 fifth-round corners who are locked down. Cam Hart, Tarheeb Still. Ladd McConkey goes bananas. He's the best rookie receiver right now.
Just in the first half.
The guy is pushing through so many injury stuff with his shoulder, ankle, I think it was, his knee maybe, I don't know. I think it's his knee.
He's got shoulder and knee issues coming out of that game. We still haven't gotten full updates on both yet.
But the contributions that this team is getting, and this goes back to like they're 8-4 with this. They're relying on a rookie receiver to be their wide receiver 1 by a mile. Like it's like wide receiver 1, and then it's wide receiver 4 and 5, it feels like. You've got 2 fifth-round picks starting at corner. You got an offensive tackle starting out as a rookie. And this team is getting incredible contributions from them. So the rookies are balling. But Tarheeb Still saved the day. Pick 6. We've been asking for a pick 6 for a while.
It's the first one that they've had. What was it, Dan? I think in 6 or 7 years that they've had a pick 6. It's been a long time.
Insane.
Since that's happened. A few things on Ladd McConkey real quick before we move on. You just talk about an absolute gamer. Dan, you mentioned the injuries that he's battling through. Here's the stats for Ladd McConkey in the last 3 games. 21 receptions, 323 yards. He now has 815 yards on the season. He's really your only focal point of offense as it relates to the passing game. Let's not make that mistake. And in the last 3 games, the Chargers are 2-1, seemingly for the better part of not having much of a run game. And here's Ladd McConkey, who you traded up for, basically a pick swap in the second round, and the amount of contributions that he is making for you, even at not 100%, is one of the best things that you could ask for. This isn't even talking about Joe Alt into the conversation. This isn't even talking about other rookies of this class in this conversation. It's been tremendous what Joe Ortiz and Jim Harbaugh were able to do during the draft and the contributions that they were already able to get out of a first, a second, and 2 day 3 picks. Crazy.
Just in, by the way, speaking of rookies, leading Pro Bowl vote getters for the AFC and NFC were just announced. Guess who the leading Pro Bowl getter was for offensive tackle for the AFC?
I wonder.
Joe Alt. As a rookie. Sound familiar? Who else had a great rookie season for the Chargers?
Kind of the other side?
Yeah. That's crazy. That's crazy. Next voicemail. Let's get through a bunch of these. There's got a lot of excitement, game balls, and I think they're going to bleed through here. So we'll let these dictate.
Dan, Jake, my boys.
Oh, he's back. Athir is here.
This is Athir. I love you. What a great win. What a great win. And I am so happy for my quarterback because he's not playing great, but he's winning football games. This is what coaches means to us. And I am giving all my flowers to the Spanos family for finally getting it right. I cannot wait for Sunday night. Let's go, baby. Let's go.
Athir's happy.
Athir's happy. Other people may not share his sentiment, but Athir is happy.
I mean, look, Athir said it, and I think this is an important component of this. We've talked about this on the show, like how important coaching is, and to be able to win games in spite of poor performances, in spite of talent, in spite of injury, is just not something Chargers fans are used to saying, are used to seeing. Chargers lose this game all the time, and we're so conditioned to it. We're numb to it. We're prepared for it. But through it all, this team is coaching through it. This coaching staff is coaching through it, through the adversity, and coming out the other end stronger. Are they winning every game? No. But this team looks nothing like it did over the past decade. Nothing like it did. And there's a lot of the players that are the same. Some are different, obviously. But some of the key guys are still here from a year ago.
Dan, this just dropped a second ago from Chris Rim as it relates to upcoming matchup against Kansas City and as it relates to Ladd McConkey. So this was Jim Harbaugh at the podium as it relates to the current status of Ladd McConkey. Jim Harbaugh said that Ladd McConkey is working through a couple of things. That is not an unfamiliar phrase as it relates to Jim Harbaugh this year, as he has said it about a number of different players. Working through a couple of things, and that the team will evaluate where he is at as the week progresses. When asked about the possibility of McConkey practicing this week, Harbaugh said, "We'll see." Take from that what you will.
I mean, I'm not surprised. I think it'll be a game time decision. I'm going to predict questionable or doubtful, questionable at best, going into the game, and it'll be a game time decision. We'll get to Derwin in a bit here.
Yeah.
Derwin was a monster. And to your point about winning in spite of Justin not playing his best, how many times have we talked about this Chargers team needing to have Superman Justin for them to have a chance at winning? And I'm not saying Justin's been bad this season, but he has not been Superman. He's had a very good last few weeks, but he has been arguably the most efficient and sometimes conservative, especially in this game. But he's not losing them football games. He's not having to go out there and win them either. And so for this team to win without scoring an offensive touchdown, like, I'll take it. This team reminds me of what you saw from the Bengals, Joe Burrow's rookie season, where Joe Burrow got all these flowers for how amazing Joe Burrow was. And he's great. I'm not taking any away from him. But if you watch closely that rookie season for him, getting to the Super Bowl, that playoff run.
You're talking about the sophomore year.
I'm sorry. Was it sophomore year?
Yes. Not the rookie season where he went out.
Sorry. You're right. Sophomore year. Go watch what that defense did for him and props him up constantly. And he's good, obviously. That's what this reminds me of. Justin Herbert is just winning football games. And now you hear narratives flip, like, oh, his stats suck. And it's like, pick one. Which narrative do you want? Do you want a winner? Do you want stats? Do you want both? So we're talking stats. Mahomes sucks too. So pick one. But this Chargers team, I can't be happier for a guy than Derwin James.
Man.
We'll get to the next voicemail, and let's talk about Derwin James for a second.
Looky here. The Chargers are 8-4, boys. Well, how about that? And look, is it pretty? No. Is it close? Yes. Do we have the star caliber players in the positions that we need? No. This is a team that is winning with parts. Parts, guys. Rookies and guys brought in to prove a 1-year, 2-year deal here. Just like last week, we talked to the Ravens. Wow, it was ugly, but with parts, look what we're doing. 8-4. Let's bolt up and be happy. It's a dub, baby. Let's go. Love you guys.
Winning ugly is not something we've seen this team do often. We see them lose ugly a lot. Hell, we see them lose pretty a lot. You take these to the bank every single time. And we talk about this culture changing, Jake. For folks who haven't seen it, Chargers put out their video post-game locker room speech.
Best.
I have never seen Derwin James as happy as what we've seen from him this season. And you see kind of the reciprocated respect that he and Coach Harbaugh have for each other. Who's got it better than us? Nobody's got it better than me coaching you, says Jim Harbaugh about Derwin James. Derwin James talking about, we're doing this for you, coach. Smiles. And then you see Derwin go out there and just go balls to the wall. Vintage Derwin. Huge third down stops. Obvious, huge interception to seal the game. For folks watching, chills with this moment on the screen right now. Folks are over here second-guessing Derwin, saying he's washed, he sucks. I cannot be happier for Derwin James, and it is so fun seeing that smile ear to ear for him. The belief that he and this team have in themselves and this coaching staff. Again, at 8-4. To your point in the call, with the parts, with all the guys that you're talking about that are either in as rookies or prove it deals, street guys, or all the guys that are out. Still, they're 8-4.
Vintage Derwin James. Outside of the game-sealing interception, Dan, you kind of alluded to it. Those 2 third and short plays, you talk about anticipation, reading the opposing offense, knowing exactly where the ball was going to go. That's circa rookie Derwin James that we saw in 2018. Having him up on the line and totally predicting where that ball was going. It wasn't going to the running back. It was going to the motion guy. Totally was able to sniff it out and plan it, forcing the Falcons to punt. He literally had that same place twice throughout the game. Same damn thing. He was up on the line. He was able to figure out exactly where he was going to go. Critical as it relates to forcing the Falcons to punt the ball to the other side. And then, of course, the game-sealing interception. He was one of the highest in terms of tacklers on this defense even yesterday. He was all over the place. I fully agree with you. I haven't seen Derwin James this happy. And we always know the consummate leader that Derwin James is as it relates to a defense. But this picture that you have up on the screen here is appropriate because we all remember the quote that Jesse Minter said prior to the season, let's get you back to the form of Derwin James that we saw earlier in your career. I think they've done that. I think Derwin James is still that guy. I don't think that he has lost anything. I think there were other aspects that were in play that contributed to down years for him.
Yep.
But Derwin James right now is playing as well as you could ask for him. And in a crucial moment, just like Tarheeb Still, when your defense needed to have it, you close the door.
What Jesse Minter is doing with his defense is remarkable. We're talking Tony Jefferson, who was a scout.
Oh, man. Was he not chomping at the bit to say, let me just get that feeling of what I had in the preseason again?
How do you not keep him? Like Marcus Maye, who wasn't even practicing with the team for most of the week, comes in. Apparently Jesse Minter called it that it was going to be an interception his first game in. Testament to him, to Derwin James as well, coaching him up. Jim Harbaugh said he had him ready to go. Him being Derwin James had Marcus Maye ready to go. 2 fifth-round corners. Elijah Molden, Jazir Taylor, Asante's on IR. Cam Hart's gone with an injury for the last few weeks.
Christian Fulton's been in and out sometimes.
Dean Leonard's been out. Christian Fulton, and this is what they're doing. I think this is why Darth Dan's kind of sitting in the closet for a bit, because you could be frustrated about the lack of run game right now. Okay, wait, offense, what the hell are we good at? Answer me that. What are we good at? You can be frustrated about that. You can be frustrated about the second half offense. You can be frustrated about the decision to go for the 4th down fake punt. But the things that you're excited about, that you're happy, that you're thankful for, should, in my opinion, drastically outweigh those things that you're frustrated for. So, again, perspective is key. Next voicemail, Jake. Again, Chargers Unleashed Hotline, 323-902-7586. 30 seconds or less. Let's have some fun, but also try to keep it somewhat respectful. Jake, next voicemail. See what they have to say.
Hi, guys. Quick question. I was wondering if you think Jim Harbaugh's familiarity with Colston Loveland and Kenneth Grant might influence the Chargers selection in next year's draft, even though Tyler Ward and Deion Walker might be slightly better fits. Who knows?
We're talking draft, Jake.
God, I love this.
Who says we don't get to talk draft when they're winning?
You do. You have. Even when we've had losing seasons, you have not allowed me to talk draft on this show.
Crickets.
You know how excited I am for questions like this? It's unbelievable. So, question going back to it, do we think that Jim Harbaugh's familiarity with Colston Loveland or Kenneth Grant is going to have an influence as far as where he drafts or who he ends up selecting? Well, going into this next season, I think you could say that the Chargers definitely need a tight end. Colston Loveland's been an easy prediction for many, many people to make as it relates to his season. You can make a similar type of cases to Tyler Warren from Penn State. You look at Harold Fannin Jr. from what he's doing. On top of that, he's about to break records as it relates to tight ends in general over there at Bowling Green. Still, as it relates to what I'm seeing, surveying the roster, just trying to evaluate where the Chargers are going to be next offseason, salary cap, possible players not being on this team any longer, still think that that Chargers are going to go with the Jim Harbaugh mentality and address the trenches. You did that in the first round last year. I think you need to do that in the first round of this coming draft because the talent along the interior of the defensive line, more specifically, number one, outside of free agency, has been neglected through prior regimes. So you definitely need some younger, bigger bodies up there. And again, I still think you need to put a higher priority on it this year. So addressing the trenches, that's always been Jim Harbaugh's mantra. And I think that he will take that same type of approach wherever the Chargers end up, be it their first round pick for this upcoming draft. But yeah, Kenneth Grant, if he's still there on the board, to me, it would be a fantastic selection if they were able to get him in the interior.
Where do you foresee, I know this is a little foreshadowing, but where do you foresee them picking?
Well, it's easy to slot right now that if you were to predict that the Chargers are going to stay around where they're at, if they end up at the 5th or the 6th spot, you're going to be picking anywhere from 20 to 21 and above. So,
do you see him being available there?
It's possible. It's possible. If we all know what this first round is going to be comprised of, it's going to be comprised of defensive playmakers, both in the interior and the edge. You could sprinkle a couple of corners in there because there's some really good corners that are going to go in the high part of this draft. You factor in at least 3 quarterbacks into that range as well for what's going to happen within at least the top 15. It's possible.
I'm excited to get into draft talk because I haven't even looked at draft stuff yet.
You better, Dan Wolkenstein.
I know.
Let's go to work, sir.
I know. But I'm curious. I'm sure Chargers fans are very excited to hear if there's a running back outside of the guy from Boise State, and if there's a receiver that can come in.
Which there are.
Perfect.
Day 2 for running backs. Look, Aston Jency is just an absolute animal and should be the first running back taken off the board. And if the Dallas Cowboys don't do it whenever the hell their pick is on the board, they are failing if they do not do this. But you get to day 2, whoa, this running back class is impressive for sure.
Next voicemail on the Chargers Unleashed Hotline.
Hey, what's up, guys? This is Matthew from Vegas. Great win. Not great win, but an ugly win. Defense came out to play, which is awesome. First time pick 6 this season, which has been, we needed that. This offensive line is ass. Defense, interior.
Here we go.
The line is ass. They need to get this shit together. But most importantly, I want to call out the refs. These refs are just horrible and horrendous. They want to throw the flags and they want to discuss it every time. Like, this NFL needs to get the shit together, man, because I'm tired of this, man. Like, every game I see the Chargers play, these refs are killing us, man. They want to they throw the flag and then they're like, oh, they're discussing, let's pick it up. Refs need to get their shit together, man. I'm tired of it, man. I'm sorry, but these NFL refs, they suck. Other than that, Quentin Johnson, I don't know, I mean, it is what it is. DJ, I'm sorry, DJ. Where the hell is he at, man? Where's his offense at, man? You need to get the crap together, man. It's tired of this, man. I'm tired of our defense playing this way, man. But anyways, both up, guys. It's glad we got a win, but this can't be happening anymore. Both up.
Lot to unpack.
Yeah.
Lot to unpack. Okay, so let's start with the officiating. I think I know where the frustration comes from. When you go back to that Ladd McConkey hit, I'd say 95% that happens to any player, any wide receiver, any tight end. That flag is going to be called.
Especially
that penalty is going to be called. Sure, especially if it was Derwin James. If it was Travis Kelce, it was going to there'd be 5 flags on the field if it was Travis Kelce, for crying out loud. Let's call it what it is.
Yep.
Yeah, the officiating, I mean, even you go back to the Baltimore game and the pass interference flag that a lot of people feel like it should have been called. It was ultimately picked up. They could have set the Chargers up in great scoring position for them inside the 10 in that Baltimore game. I get it. Look, bad officiating is a staple in the NFL. It ain't going anywhere, unfortunately. I get it if you want to say that it's seemingly happens to the Chargers more often than any other teams. I think that's an objective statement because I think it happens to majority of teams in general. But offensive struggles, defensive struggles, let's try to separate this real quick. Again, Quentin Johnston, I don't center this around Quentin Johnston. I know everybody's big off of the Baltimore game. Outside of Ladd McConkey, there wasn't much to contribute offensively to this, Justin Herbert included, for what the Chargers were not able to accomplish offensively. So collectively, as a group, with the exception of Ladd McConkey, the offense itself was bad. And the biggest thing for me that I want to see corrected is the second half performance in the offense, because that is a recurring trend that has happened over the last several weeks that, come playoff time, you're going to need to start putting up second half points. I thought Justin Herbert addressed it perfectly. He knows he's not happy with the way that he played. He knows he needs to be better, much in the same way that he addressed the performance after the Baltimore game. That they're going to find a way, at least for Justin Herbert's sake, that he's going to be better than what he was yesterday. That is not a trend in a certain. This is an outlier as it relates to one of these type of performances. Of course. Offensive line, like I've said, there is nobody else coming through the door. Unfortunately, there's nobody that the Chargers are trading for. There's nobody on person.
Sawyer could come.
Sawyer has played in certain packages. Maybe that's the only opportunity that you could say. Maybe if it stays persistent in that way where you feel that the offensive line needs some tweaking, that you might make a call on that. But outside of that, there's not a lot that's changing as far as the offensive line. So collectively, they need to get better in terms of allowing inside pressure, because that has been a detriment to this offense for sure throughout the entirety of this season. Defensively, I'll share what I was feeling from the defense, especially early on in the game. I thought the Atlanta Falcons were tearing a page right out of the Baltimore Ravens playbook, because it was feed Bijan, feed Bijan, feed Bijan. And for those first 2 drives, even in the one that ended in the Koo missed field goal, they were moving the ball defensively. The Chargers were fortunate enough to not be in a 14-0 hole by the time that those 2 drives ended. And I thought for a majority of the game, Atlanta was living in that third and short type of situations, much
fourth
like
and short.
And they were able to convert a couple of those. And so I felt like it was eerily similar to the Baltimore Ravens game.
Yep.
For a good period of that game, the Atlanta Falcons really didn't need to do much other than just turn around, hand the ball off, and they were able to get positive yards out of it until the defense said, enough of this crap, and we're going to turn it around, which they ultimately ended up doing. As Dan said, you have games like this. It's not pretty. It's ugly, but Jim Harbaugh has probably said it best. The best when you needed your best. We can't always be flawless. We can't always be world beaters. That's never who this Chargers team is. I know that everybody would like to see us run up the scoreboard 63-0 if that was possible.
Just once.
But that's just not who this team is, and it's not how it's constructed in a year turnover with this particular type of personnel. But you're getting better results than what you had when you arguably had a more talented roster under a different head coach. And as we have said so many times on this show, the X factor that has been missing with this team has been the coaching aspect. Jim Harbaugh, Jesse Minter, Ryan Fitkin, down to the positional coaches and Steve Klingscale, Mike Elston, however you want to say it. They have come in and they have changed the dynamic based on their coaching to where you can elevate players that are not necessarily regarded as the most talented, but they will go out and play and make plays because that's what true playmakers do.
This is where I push back a little bit. First half. For as terrible as this Chargers defense was, and everyone's up in arms about how bad, 7 points at halftime. 7 points midway through the third. League leading defense when it comes to points scored against. So all of these things that people are upset about, end of the day, we know what this Chargers defense is about. That's about making the opposing team have to go down and score methodically and banking on them making a mistake at some point before they get to the end zone. So the yards are kind of empty until it gets to the red zone, which again, go back to the offseason and what Trevor McHugh told us, Michigan expert, what to expect from Jesse Minter and his defense. Spot on.
Figures it out.
7 points at halftime. 13 points total. So it's easy to get caught up in the moment, right? Be prisoner of the moment. But if you snap back and just let it play out, 13 points. When was the last time we saw the Chargers offense this bad and win a game? Honestly.
Probably the Patriots game from a couple of years ago when they won that barn burner,
Like
6-0. Yeah, 6-0.
And say what you will about the offensive line. I don't know if I put as much of the offensive line as people are doing because 5 sacks, right? Not good. And I think Justin ate some of those purposefully because he would rather eat them than throw a pick, do something stupid, which I guess if I had to choose between that and 4 interceptions, guy, yeah, I'll take it every time. But a lot of those, and I'm excited to get to the all-22 too, nobody seemed to be open. Nobody's open. It's like these are covered sacks. And so we want to nitpick about the offensive line sucking. I don't know. I think we'll go back and watch how long they had to do it. Like these are covered sacks. This is like 5, 6, 7 drops. He's hopping around in the pocket, not seeing anything, moving up. Then he gets sacked. And the part that I am a little frustrated about with this Chargers offense is it just seems as if they can't get any momentum. And they're always shooting themselves in the foot. You cannot have a Chargers team that's supposedly built on physicality, offensive line being a weapon, and run it a collective 10 times with Kamani Vidal and Gus Edwards. It's the entire game. You can't have that. You can't. And I understand, Justin Herbert didn't have a stellar game. 16 for 23. Like, they couldn't sustain any drive. Ladd McConkey gets, 12 targets? Quentin has 4. Nobody else has more than 2. Hassan Haskins, I get, fell to Michigan, dude, but can we not?
That was not his snap in that situation. 3rd and 1. You brought on Gus Edwards for these specific situations alone.
He wasn't getting it even if he didn't fumble.
Well, if you notice that in every 2nd and short, 3rd and short situation, that did not happen again. It was Justin Herbert took it for quarterback sneaks throughout the rest of that game.
So they got to figure out this running game to get more in sync. And I know Greg Roman, people have taken a lot of shots at him. I think some of the criticism is fair. This offense has to get right. It has to be better. The fact that they're 8-4 in spite of that is insane to me. But hey, I'll take it. Next voicemail. Got a few left here. We're rounding out Chargers Unleashed Hotline. See what we have to say.
Hello, Dylan Powers here. Lifelong Charger fan. I think the dub was great. Love winning. That's all great. I think Christian Fulton is so bad that we have to do something. Put in Cam Hart, rookie, in there. I mean, this guy is a sell machine. I mean, just selling. Can't guard nobody. PI calls. Gave up the touchdown last week. I mean, this guy's getting cooked. These rookies are playing better than a Pro Bowler. Get him off of the goddamn team. Quentin Johnson, everyone knows that this guy needs to be cut. I don't want to get on him. But it's like, I know we won, but it's like, I feel like I'm unsatisfied. This guy, Jay Herb's got nobody helping him. Got nobody. It's insane. Got Ladd McConkey out there putting his last toe on the line for the team. No one else can catch the ball. It's insane. O-line played like shit. I mean, dirty, grimy win. You know, we usually don't win those, so I'm super happy about that.
You sound so happy.
A lot of things need to change if we need to win next week against Kansas City. Good day.
Good day.
Hey, sir.
Good day, sir. You get nothing. Turn up the volume. Woo! Okay, look. Christian Fulton, I know he did not have a good game against the Baltimore Ravens. We all saw that. In general, the defense, the offense did not really have that good of a game against the Baltimore Ravens. So let's call it what it is. Christian Fulton, I think what he has done for a majority of the time that he has been a starter, I think he has come in on a 1-year prove-it deal, and I think has actually excelled a lot of the expectations that people had, namely Dan Wolkenstein. Because Dan Wolkenstein has completely turned his perspective on Christian Fulton, especially over the last couple of weeks. Also, who else do you got? Because the secondary is so ravaged with injuries. Who else are you going to play right now? Really? I mean, let's just figure this out.
You got Dean
DiCaprio Boodle. You're going to put in DiCaprio Boodle and expect different results? I'm not so sure about that. I understand Cam Hart, and I definitely think that Cam Hart's presence has been felt not being in the lineup since he went out during the Cincinnati game. But still, as Dan says, you're going to have bad games. You're going to have bad games. You're going to have bad stretches. It's ultimately how do you respond? Here's a conversation I was having offline with Dan Wolkenstein earlier today, actually. We're getting close to the end of the season. There are certain players that we know as it relates to short-term IR that hopefully over the next few weeks, especially with the Chargers making a playoff push, you're going to get back. And we would hope in the next couple of weeks that Cam Hart returns. I have no idea whether or not Asante Samuel Jr. is going to return this year. I do not. I don't.
Yeah.
But if you're able to get this secondary as close to full strength as possible, I can go back and I can remember early on in the season what type of year Christian Fulton was having. And it was damn good. It was damn good. So I think there's a lot of different components outside of his own play. I know he's not even playing at 100% health right now. In reality, nobody is at this point in the season, and that's for the Chargers or any other team. Offensive line, I've said my piece on it. Interior needs to find some way to improve, not just for Justin Herbert's sake, but for this run game's sake. And ultimately, you have to figure out ways to put up points in the second half. These are still things that this Chargers team needs to improve on. And you'd like to see that before a playoff run comes about. But yes, we can stand here, much like anybody would like to say about Quentin Johnston in that Baltimore Ravens game. There's nothing really to applaud offensively for this Chargers team yesterday other than Ladd McConkey. So you take what you can get. Every team is not going to have a home run type of game, flawless, play on both sides of the ball. And players are going to have bad games. It's just how it goes. So collectively as a team, the bigger message here, and Dan has talked about it, and as this caller mentioned himself, you still find ways to win. If this is a Brandon Staley-led team, Anthony Lidd team, Mike McCoy-led team, Norv Turner team, Chargers not winning this game. We remember what that was like. Coaching makes the difference. And as much as we can stand here and try to criticize Christian Fulton, Marcus Maye comes off the bench and gets an interception. Your fifth-round rookie gets two interceptions, one of them being a pick six.
And Christian Fulton had a massive pass breakup on Drake London.
True. Is it going to change something to say, oh, I'd rather have Tarheeb Still come in and play instead of Christian Fulton? No, that's not it at all, because you're not bringing in anybody right now that's going to play better than Christian Fulton, in my opinion.
No.
You're not going to do that. It's not going to make your secondary any better.
I think it's a little out of pocket, honestly.
I think Cam Hart obviously enhances this secondary.
Sure.
100% makes it better.
Which is by design.
But in terms of replacing Christian Fulton, no, I don't. I understand the frustration. I get it. There's been ups and downs as it relates to a variety of different players.
Ideally, those would be your starting two.
Sure. But these are just some of the games you have to go through. And you're currently sitting at 8-4.
Yep. Next voicemail. Got two more, Jake. Next voicemail.
Hey, Dan, Jake, it's the Faceless Fan here.
Oh, boy.
Oh, is this foreshadowing?
Full Faceless Fan, if you remember, has had some things to say. Some call for words.
Yes. Okay.
How can you forget?
Yes, let's go. Okay.
I'm going to make it short.
Do you think he makes it short? First question.
No.
Explain to me how Justin Herbert gets sacked 5 times against the worst sack defense in the entire league. 30 seconds. They never failed to mention it. Kevin Harlan consistently kept saying, this is the worst defensive line defense in the entire league when it comes to sacking the quarterback. We gave up 5 sacks. Can we fire Greg Roman, please? I don't give a fuck that we won. I don't give a fuck.
Jeez. Okay. Colorful.
And I'm so sick and tired of Greg Roman. And listen, we can just literally draw this up as defense played their hearts out. They were amazing. Tarheeb Still, MVP of the league. Amazing. Derwin, amazing. Christian Fulton had a bad game. Then the second half, he turned it up a little bit, did a little bit better. I thought Daiyan was great. But, I mean, Greg Roman in the third quarter is pretty much my dead grandma. Doing nothing but getting, I mean, tell me what Greg Roman does in the third quarter. I'm convinced that guy is at Waffle House in Atlanta right now, eating pancakes, having a good old time getting into a fight, Waffle House style. I'm done with this guy. This guy is a clown. He's a loser. He is a fucking piece of shit. And I'm.
Whoa. Okay.
Wow.
Easy. Okay, remember. Let's keep it respectful.
Respectful. That was the most disgusting game I've ever watched offensively. It was all Ladd. It was all Ladd and no one else. There was nothing to show for. The run game, non-existent, except 2 runs by Gus and Vidal. Nothing else, dude. Nothing else. Justin had no one to throw to except Ladd, and Ladd was like limping through that entire game and still had over 100 yards. And it all came in the first half. No defense, no offense to show for in the second half. Okay? That's it. Bolts up. I'm glad we won, but fuck me, guys. Fuck me.
Look, there's been a lot of criticism over Greg Roman throughout the entirety of this season. Me personally, was yesterday a good day for Greg Roman? No. Was it a good day for the offensive line? No. Was it a good day for Quentin Johnston? No. Was it a good day for Will Dissly? No. Was it a good day for Justin Herbert? No. Was it a good day for Joshua Palmer? Not really. Was it a good day for DJ Chark? You wouldn't know because nobody threw the ball to him and he played 2 snaps. Collectively, it wasn't a good day for the offense, period. I personally think since the bye week that you go back to and I've said this before, you go back to the first month of the year and look at how the offense was playing and what they were relying on to get them through games, and you look at how this Chargers team has looked after the bye, I think that Greg Roman has done a multitude of different things to improve, namely with Justin Herbert, putting the ball in his hands, getting more of a downfield passing offense going. On top of that, Greg Roman ain't out there running routes. He's not the one out there getting separation or lack thereof. I get the frustration with it. I'm not absolving anything in terms of negativity, especially if we're talking about second half points, because that is definitely a trend that needs to change. And come playoff time, you're going to need to find a way to put something in the end zone if you want to see some of those games won. But as a whole, Justin Herbert's still having one of the most efficient offenses that he has had, or efficient years that he has had since he's been in the league. And you currently have a better record than you currently have right now. And this is excluding the days of when you had Keenan Allen and Mike Williams and Austin Eckler on this team.
You're a higher seed than the Ravens, and you just lost to the Ravens. Riddle me that.
Dan has an interesting way of putting this in perspective, and this is something that I have come around a lot, especially after knowing that Jim Harbaugh was going to be the head coach. Would you rather see the Detroit Lions game of last year when Brandon Staley was still the head coach and when the Chargers literally had to just go in a shootout and ultimately lose that game?
Or Miami?
That was gut-wrenching. The Baltimore game of last year, even. Look at what's happening with Joe Burrow right now. Look at that.
Ugh.
With the season that he is having.
I genuinely feel for him.
With Jamar Chase and T. Higgins and Chase Brown having the years that they're having collectively.
Hell, Trey Hendrickson.
And it's a wasted year for the Cincinnati Bengals because they haven't been able to fix the win-loss column, regardless of how many points they put up.
Those stats are nice, though.
Stats are nice. They're great. So I understand some of the criticism from Greg Roman, but number one, he's not getting fired. So saddle up. He'll be here for the remainder of the season. And you're going to have games like this. But traditionally, the Chargers don't win games like this, even when they have as bad of offensive performances as they did yesterday.
There's only so many things that this team can fix in one season. And we all know there were a lot of things that had to get fixed. I mean, we can count on 5 hands how many things had to get fixed. Are there things that still remain to be fixed?
Oh, yeah.
Absolutely. We're not absolving the team from improvement. But let's make our expectations a little bit more realistic here. And remember, the team is 8-4. I will always go back to 8-4. And that's what matters most. And I will take an ugly win over a beautiful loss every single week. Can the offense be better? Sure. But we're kind of talking out of both sides of our mouth here, I feel like, as a fan base, when folks are saying Greg Roman sucks, he needs to get fired, but also weapons can't separate, running backs aren't doing anything, offensive line's terrible. Like, which one is it? Because you can have Ben Johnson out there as the offensive coordinator. If you don't got the horses, what are you going to do? So, again, this is year one. And if you're asking this Chargers team to, at 8-4, well, they suck and they need to have a better offense. The offensive line sucks. They have no weapons. And okay, so let's say they fix all those things. They're a Super Bowl contending team. Do you think, Chargers fans, Jake, do you think this is a Super Bowl contending team right now?
No. But we didn't consider this a Super Bowl contending team before the season even started. If we're all being real with one another.
Except for a fear.
True. Let's just be real. But what we would have expected with Jim Harbaugh coming in is to turn things around. And thus far, he has done that.
Most importantly at the win-loss column.
I think a majority of us, if we could say that Chargers get a playoff win this year, it's a hell of a lot better than what you've been able to accomplish in the last number of years.
That was the bar. Going into the season, that was a bar for the majority of Chargers fans, myself included, was get a playoff win, you're cooking. And right now, they're on their way. They're certainly not doing that right now. So there's a lot of heat coming. And I think perspective, again, is important. Last voicemail, Jake, I know we went a little long here, but Chargers fans, we're here for you. And you've done it. Again, 323. I always forget the last 4 digits every time I do this. 323-902-7586. Again, 323-902-7586. Chargers Unleashed Hotline. Again, give us a 30-second instant reaction. Bold predictions, feelings, questions. We'll do our best to answer them throughout. Last one, Jake. After a Chargers victory, 17-13, winning the game, going to 7+1, 8-4 on the season.
What's going on? It's Johnson here. I definitely tuned into the game. Even more annoyed the last game because of all the miscues on offense. Just how
more annoyed than the last game.
Terrible we are without Ladd, who's clearly wide receiver 1. Chark, again, is nowhere to be found, even though there's during the game, saw him on the bench in full uniform, just sitting there, not doing the damn thing. Brenner
Must be nice, man. I want that job, by the way.
Rice is nowhere to be found. Jalen Rager's disappeared. It's literally just Ladd. And we weren't able to do nothing in the second half. We had to rely on the defense. Which is good that the defense won us the game, because when does that ever happen for the Chargers at home, really?
Do you hear the tone of the voices of some of these voicemails, though? It's as if they lost by 30.
O-line played like dog piss.
That's bad, right?
Hey,
Last I heard.
secondary had a day. Asante Samuel who? Let these young dogs eat. Go Bolts.
Look, Dan, I wouldn't shy away from it. You know this from our conversation while the game was going on. I fully understand anybody's frustration with how the offense played last week. More so, I think the frustration stems from, Dan, is the fact of what happened against the Ravens on Monday night. Because outside of that first drive, the Chargers weren't able to do much offensively. Defensively, they got rolled. There was a number of different things in that Ravens game that just did not go the Chargers' way, that did not make them look good. So to have that, to have the message from Jim Harbaugh even come out and say, look, we're going to own it, we're going to fix it, we're going to move on. It didn't happen for the offense against the Atlanta Falcons. I fully understand the frustrations about that offensively. We know that this is not typically how the Chargers, Justin Herbert, looks in games like this. Sometimes you have bad games from your star quarterback. Justin Herbert didn't even turn the ball over. Let's remember that much.
Remember the other guy on the other team. That's a bad game.
Yes. So take it what you will. I'm not taking any criticism away with how the offense performed as a whole. It was bad. But your defense carried. And some days you're going to have where your offense has to carry because of a bad defensive performance. So understand the frustration. It's still a W. Chargers sit 8-4. They're in prime position as it relates to playoff seeding because of the rest of what has taken place in the AFC thus far. And you got a third of the season left to close this out. I think more of it, Dan, is you have this leading up to the Kansas City game, which everybody always gets hyped for the Kansas City game because everybody who is a Chargers fan loves the Chargers and absolutely loves anybody that could possibly beat the Chiefs. Which, has been really, really close to happening outside of Buffalo throughout the entirety of this year.
Yeah,
and you go back to that. You go back to that first meeting against the Chargers and the Chiefs, and you say to yourself, "God, if the Chargers had a healthy handful of players, one of them being Justin Herbert, and they held the Chiefs to 17 points in that game, you could have felt better about what they could have done offensively, sure." And so now you have two lackluster offensive performances, 2 straight weeks in a row, now leading up to Kansas City. And it's in Arrowhead, which virtually nobody wins in. I get why it has everybody dejected. I understand. But overall, it's you win or you lose this game, it's not taking the Chargers out of playoff contention. Let's remember that. But I would like to see offensive improvements.
Yes,
100%. Please. So would Dan. So would everybody else. Namely for me in the second half. You can't look at that tape in the film room and say, yeah, we could do something like that every week. Hell no. They're going to find a way to get it right. I know that. I have confidence in that. Why? Because of who's leading the team. And that's more than I could say about this team in a long time.
Again, just to recap what this Chargers defense looks like right now, these are the names that are playing meaningful snaps. Elijah Molden, Tarheeb Still, Christian Fulton, Troy Dye, Jazir Taylor, Marcus Maye, Tony Jefferson, Dean Leonard. How many of those guys were playing snaps with this team last year? 2? 3, maybe? Just a bag of parts. Chargers are 8-4. And I understand there are things that they can improve upon, but that's kind of the point. Let's let them improve, but let's be grateful that they're 8-4 in the playoff hunt right now. We were dreaming for days like these, Chargers fans. Quite literally. So let's enjoy this one. I know we went long, Jake. We went over an hour here, and we have not talked about Cameron Dicker, who, by the way, is just absolute nails. And you're seeing around the league how many people are missing field goals and extra points. Like, it's kind of an issue.
Justin Tucker?
Yeah. Balling. J.K. Scott, special teams in general, has been dynamite. I mean, without Cameron Dicker, they lose that game. But so many unsung heroes in that game, and that was a team victory. And we've talked about, like, complementary football, and yeah, the offense wasn't doing its thing for the most part, but, like, that 2-point conversion was huge. That made it a 7-point game. There's a lot of stuff going on with guys who are not supposed to be playing right now, and they're finding a way. So, Chargers fans, be excited. Jake, anything else you want to talk about with the great friends before we head on out of here?
Got the feelings out. I think everybody else got the feelings out. It's Monday, Victory Monday, more specifically. You got your hated rivalry coming up in prime time this week in Arrowhead.
Again, prime time.
We'll see which players are either you're going to have or not going to have. It's going to be interesting. But we'll get into that more as the week progresses.
Chargers win the games they're supposed to, are competitive in the other games, and they arguably won a game they weren't supposed to win on the road against a division leader, come out with a victory. Chargers win 17-13, improved to 8-4. Chargers now the 5 seed. Let's go Browns today, by the way. Browns playing the Broncos. Hopefully Broncos can lose that one. Chargers, I believe, are 2.5 games up with 5 to play. It's a good spot to be in. All right, Jake, that'll do it. What's your victory meal of choice today?
Victory meal of choice is going to be crock-pot chicken in a nice mushroom sauce that my wife made, which we had sit for about 6 hours on the crock-pot. So I'm looking forward to that. That'll be a nice dish this evening.
Enjoy. I'm thinking Chipotle might be mine.
Yeah, there it is.
I'm thinking that's going to be it. All right, fan, it's been fun. For Jake Hefner, you can find him at Jake T. Hefner, myself at Daiyan W Sports. Again, hit that like and subscribe button. Helps us out a ton. Leave a review, leave a comment. We love the interaction with all of you. and we're very appreciative for all the support throughout. Jake, the Chargers are 8-4. Chargers fans, the Chargers are 8-4. The current number 5 seed after 13 weeks. Let's enjoy this Harbaugh era. Let's see what this Chargers team could do up against the Kansas City Chiefs on primetime on the road. Let's go shock the world. But until then, we'll talk to you next on the next Chargers Unleashed.